Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the AutoTech TalkRobot stage, where we cover all things robotics, automobiles, virtual reality, and IoT. Over the afternoon, we'll tackle all aspects of how we get around and how we interact with the world around us. My name is Normandy Madden, and I'm with the Digit Group, which you might not have heard of, but it's a very new company set up by Paul Doherty in the US. He's an architect and urban planner with a strong focus in digital. And we are building smart cities, entirely new cities around the world, in places like China, India, Saudi Arabia, and the US. So we cover pretty much all of these different topics, so I'm really excited about being part of this session today. We're going to start off with a step inside a robot's world. So please welcome Paul Wu, who's the Chief Product Officer of UB Robotics, who's going to talk about how engineers are revolutionizing the next generation of robotics. So.
Here's a station you might like. Hello, James. Okay, starting workout now. Your team meeting starts in 15 minutes. You have new emails. What do you want to do now?
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Paul. I work for UB. If you go out right now to the street talking to people about AI or artificial intelligence, most likely people will be confused. They don't know much about artificial intelligence. However, if you ask them about robots, people's eye will light up. They will start talking about their understanding of robots, maybe from movie or from books, but they all have an idea about robots. That is a very telling story. At UB, we have a strong belief that robot is the future for AI. AI is a great technology. Like all good technologies, they need a carrier to showcase the capabilities. And we believe robots, especially humanoid robots, are the best carrier for the AI technology. Give a little bit of background about the company I work for. The company really started as a research project on the joints, if you would, and the servos, the servo motors. Servo motors are not a new thing, but it's been there for a while, but it's very expensive. Through our innovation and our hard working, we'll be able to bring the servo cost down to the level where we can bring robots into everybody's home. We officially started the company at 2012, and ever since that, the company has been growing very fast. As you can see from revenue point of view, from investment point of view, and we have been growing very fast. And the last year, we reached over 200 million revenues with a capitalization of over $1 billion. Our product consists of a couple of things. One is the GMO product, which is more of educational products where you can build, you can program, you can share what you build with the consumer, with your social network. And this product you can see is Apple. We have partnership with Apple Store, and this product you can buy it in Apple. We also, from that point, we also start working on the humanoid robots, starting with Alpha 1 and Alpha 2. And those are the first true robots using the servo technology a couple years ago. We're also having a partnership with Amazon and Alexa, using Alexa, which will coming out in the next couple of months. In addition to the 2C business, we're also working with business, working on 2B business, and help business to solve their problems. So this is the video you just saw. It's Alexa-based robot that will coming out soon in the US market. It's a partnership with Amazon. We announced this product early this year in the CES. I mentioned the Jimu product, partnering with Apple. Actually, this last month or so, in the Worldwide Developers Conference, Apple announced a new initiatives to put Jimu into developers' hand with kids in the Apple Store. I'm going to show you a video again to see how the Jimu works.
Welcome to Jimu, where you can build and program smart robots and share them with your friends. Follow the Jimu app's cool 3D instructions to build BuzzBot, and then take him apart and build MuttBot, or any robot in Jimu world. He moves just like a human, and you control him. Program his movements in the Jimu app and get smarter as you code. Create your own Jimu world. Smart robots, smarter kids.
So what are the trends for the humanoid robots? Where are the development focus going forward? What we can see in the future? We believe there's 3 areas that will continue to develop for humanoid robots. One is the machine-people interaction. As in the past, you started from PC, and these days, coming from a cell phone, the interaction between human and the machine has been growing from hand, eyes, to the cell phone. Now you speak to it. But we believe for robot, at the end of the day, it will be full scale, all dimension of interaction. So this is going to continue to be the development trend for the AI and robots. That's one trend. There's a lot of people working on that continues the sense and the interactive on that. The second trend is for robots is, in addition to the AI, which was the weak AI, to continue until strong AI, all the AI work, there's a big trend on the motion control. As you know, robot is something moves. It's like act like human from time to time. So the movement is very important. It has to be real. So that development will be very, very important, from basic moving control to the area where robots can actually do a lot better than person. You already see a robot can run fast, see better in the dark night, hear better, and have all the sense. So in that area, robot action can do a lot better than human being. So for these 2 areas we see are the trends moving forward for robots. The third area we think is going to be continue as the way robots develops is the data. We talk about all the data, how big data is changing our life, how important the data is. And robots is a little bit different in that sense compared with your cell phone collecting data. Robot is part of your life. Robots actively collecting data versus passively getting data from users. Robots interact with you and see you, they understand you, they care about you as we vision. So it's a part of an integrated part of your life. And those data are much more valuable than the data you can get from your cell phone. So we believe that's also going to be help us. With those data, we can help us train the engine, the AI engine, and serve our customer much, much better. So those are the 3 areas we think is continue going to develop for the robots industry. So you ask what UBTech are doing prepare us for the next generation. So, a couple of things. One thing is we truly believe robots ultimately will become truly a part of your family. Think about a family member. There's characters describe a family member. They care about you. You trust each other. They understand, and you have an open relationship. Robot is the only candidate that can do that. When the AI develops, when we be able to build better and better robots. You see, people talk a lot about IoT stuff, and these days, AI are being integrated into a lot of speakers. Many companies are doing this. However, we truly believe these are the middle point. At the end of the day, robots will be a full member of your family and really can help you on many things, caring about you, take care of kids, and caring about older people. Those are the future we envision. To realize this vision, UBTech is doing a couple of things. We talk about the two core things of our robots, the motion control and the AI. On the motion control side, we've been doing, this is our core. We've been doing a servo motor for many years, starting from smaller servo to all the way to bigger. Smaller ones being used in your fingers, control your fingers, your toes, and the bigger ones to control your legs movement, your waist. I'm going to show you another video to show you how servo motor works. This is something we worked 3 years ago. It's kind of old, and in this time, 3 years pretty old now. So this shows you how exactly a servo motor is working and to control people's movement. We make it open so you can see how exactly that's controlled. This is only a 6 servo motors. And these days, our even smallest robots have 20 degrees of freedoms. So this is very rudimentary. This is kind of old, but it shows us very well on how things work inside. This is on server side. On the other side is AI side, which we're going to continue to develop and investing on it. On the AI side, in addition to the natural language, NLU, NLP, the voice part, we're also heavily invested on the vision part. Robots coming to your house, they need to see you. They need to understand your house, and they need to walk around in your house. So those are very key part of artificial intelligence important for robots. So we're investing on that. And also doing, as I mentioned, motion control. Robots need to walk like a person and need to play his rod inside the house. All those things, we are working on that. We are continue investing, including emotion. They need to understand you. So in addition to our own R&D and development, we also have a partnership with global companies. Like I mentioned, Amazon. We are working. This project was announced in CES this year, and we're coming up to the Amazon store in the next 2 months. We also have, I mentioned Jimu with Apple. We have partnership with Apple and are doing education market and help kids programming and share their ideas in addition to just make things. We also have a local company in China, Tencent. We just last 2 weeks ago, we announced a robot using Tencent technology and a partnership with co-brand product local for the China market. The other things we're working on is IP. We have Disney. We have signed a contract with Disney to turn all their IP characters into robots. This is on the product side. On the research side, we have working with top universities and to do all the AI research. I mentioned in the previous slide, in addition to 2C business, we also have help a business to solve their problem. So for that, allow me to show you a quick video on that as well.
Meet Cruiser, a cloud-based intelligent humanoid robot. At transportation hubs, Cruiser is an intelligent crew member. At banks, Cruiser is an intelligent lobby manager. Cruiser supports multi-site video conferencing. At exhibitions, Cruiser is an intelligent and informative guide. At shopping malls, Cruiser is an intelligent shopping guide and entertainer. At automobile dealerships, Cruiser is an intelligent sales representative. With one command, you can make multiple cruisers monitor and patrol simultaneously. With the open API, Cruiser can be customized to intelligently serve in various scenarios. Intelligent service. Without limits.
As you can see, the robot combined with strong AI can really solve so many problems around your house, around the business, and we firmly believe there's a great future for us. And we also believe as a company, we're going to continue to grow very fast for the next couple of years. By helping customers solve their problems, our company will be very successful both in sales as well as technology investment. That's all I have to say, and I hope you enjoy the evening, or enjoy this afternoon, and thank you for coming.
Okay, Paul, thank you very much. So our next speaker made his name launching FireChat, a chat app that allowed users to text message without a Wi-Fi or data plan. He's driven by making connectivity totally accessible, affordable, and sustainable. And his next venture, Nodal, is focused on doing just that for wearables and IoT. So let's hear from the man himself. Please welcome Misha Ben-Alil.
Hi everyone, my name is Misha Ben-Alil. I'm super happy to be with you today. I was here last year to talk about the topic of messaging with Gavin from Hike, and today I'm going to introduce you to some things completely new and different that we have been working on with my team who is based in San Francisco. And it's called Nodal, and what it is, it's a connectivity solutions for the Internet of Things, for that means wearables, it means also appliances, so basically for everything that you want to connect to the Internet. So it's called Nodal.io, and we are announcing it at Rise, since we started to talk about it a few days ago. So what I want to put this into the context of ambient computing, because we believe that sometime soon, in the next maybe 5 to 10 years, everything will have a small computer into it. And it will be an AI computing solutions that will be always connected or connected to other devices around. But to realize this promise of ambient computing, you need to have first a solution for connectivity which is very low power, and also you have to have the cost of the hardware and the radios to be very inexpensive, because you may want to have an AI computer tomorrow in your jacket, for example. So we are working on that, and we believe that Nodal.io is the solution adapted to provide this connectivity layer to realize the promise of ambient computing. So today, if you want to connect a device to the Internet, you don't have that many solutions. You can buy a cellular module, buy a plan, or make a contract with a traditional telco, or you can use other solutions like low-power wide area network, like LoRa or Sigfox, but still, to deploy an infrastructure to support the Internet of Things, you have to spend tens of millions, hundreds, or sometimes billions of dollars to cover a whole country. And when you are a manufacturer, or a device maker, you often make devices that probably sometimes cost just $10. So why are you going to spend $15 just for a module you're going to add to your device that doesn't consume a lot of energy and make it less useful, and then you will have to pay enormous and gigantic amount of money to connect these devices to the internet. So that's what really the problem we are tackling and we are solving with Nodal.io. So to realize ambient computing, you need low power and also high bandwidth. And so that's the solution we bring. And the way we do it is pretty innovative. We use and we leverage everyone's smartphones. So you could call it like also like it's kind of a citizen network. So we put a piece of software on our partner's smartphone or with app developers, and we have a business model for that. So we provide a nice revenue stream to our partners. And as people walk by, you can connect automatically to some of the devices around that these manufacturers want to collect data from. And this data is going to the cloud. And then basically, we can realize this promise of connecting these devices to the cloud or to the internet at a very, very low cost. When you look at the cellular network today, I think the ITU released a number which is 95% of the population is actually in reach of a cellular network. So they don't all have a smartphone yet. I mean, some networks are 2G, most of them now are 3G and 4G. But the number is growing, and very, very soon everyone is going to have a smartphone. So we'll be able to cover almost like 95% of the whole population, which means that any objects around one of the people who have a smartphone will be able to send back data to the internet at a very low cost. So the way we do that, on this graph you can see, is you have a smartphone in the center, and it will connect to a wearable, for example, or tomorrow you can imagine any clothing, for example. It can be sidewalks, or it can be an air tracker to track the quality of the air, for example. So that's the model we offer to developers. It's similar to an advertising SDK. So if you build an app, you want to monetize your app today, you can either sell in-app purchase, or you can put ads into your app. But you can also now, with our solution, put our SDK, and when manufacturers and device makers pay on our portal to connect their devices, we give to our partners half of the revenue we make with these device manufacturers for helping us growing the network and collecting the data. So that's an interesting use case. It's one of our first partners. It's in the healthcare industry. They are based in Vietnam, and they build these machines to help kids and children to breathe in hospitals. So the problem they face is, especially in some countries, I mean, the infrastructure is not there yet, but almost everyone has a smartphone already. So they have these machines in hospitals, and they have people in hospitals who carry their smartphones. And when they pass nearby these machines, they collect data to know when maintenance has to happen on these machines, and also to improve the service to the doctors who are using these machines every day. Another interesting use case is the monitoring of urban pollution, especially in countries like India, where it's a concern, or also in China, for example. And the limitation today is really the cost of these devices and how do you bring back the data back to the cloud. And with Nodal, we provide a solution which is very low energy and very low cost. So we enable cities to basically scale the number of tracking solution for the air quality to another level, which was not possible before. Interesting use case, which is not realized yet because we are just starting. But once we have to start to have a lot of density and cover a big part of actually the global population on the Earth, we will be able to track goods and perishable goods. And because you can imagine tomorrow in every packaging, we will be able to have a small computer with sensors that will track the quality of the food and vegetables, for example, like in this photo. As the technology progresses, you're going to start to see also devices that have the capacity to produce their own energy. either using solar, but also backscatter technology. And that's going to revolutionize the way we actually consume data and the way we will be able to collect data from all these devices and every device that's surrounding us. There is an interesting article I read last week where there was the first cell phone that was using actually self-harvesting energy, and the people were able to place calls with that cell phone, so it's not a smartphone yet, that was producing its own energy. And where does that lead in the future? It means that once you have an ID or data embedded in every object, every device around you, once you will start to wear, for example, glasses that enable augmented reality, you will not only be able to analyze your environments through the camera by being connected to the cloud, but you will also be able to retrieve data directly from these devices that are around you. So we are really, with this technology, pushing the internet to the edge. So instead of trying to guess what is this object and the characteristic of this object or this, of this thing, you will directly retrieve the data from that device itself. So to make it a bit more understandable to every one of you, we also are releasing today an app available on Android, which is called Noodle. And the principle is, as you move around, you capture signals from devices. And there is even a leaderboard, so it's a challenge. So the one who are going to discover the most devices around them basically can win this challenge. And if you want to look for it on the Android store, on the Play Store, you have to type Noodle with an exclamation point and then also noodle.io after that, and you will be able to download it. So I hope I have given you a good overview of what we are doing and what the future is going to look like when it comes to connecting every devices around you. And thank you for listening to me. And have a great time at RISE. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so by this time next year, it's estimated that over a third of the world's population will own a smartphone, and there will be over 2.5 billion smartphone owners. With a market that large, naturally competition is going to be rife. Our next speaker will talk about how one particular smartphone maker is planning to stand the test of time and competition. So we have a conversation coming up with the Financial Times' Henny Sender, speaking with the president of M Series and senior vice president of Meizu, Li Nan.
We're sitting so far apart.
Yeah, I'd like to sit closer.
Strange.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming. This is a very interesting time to be in the business of making phones and transitioning to internet services. And while we were chatting on the way up here,
Yeah.
I was asking Li Nan about how Tencent and the popularity of its latest game has changed the smartphone industry.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about how Tencent is affecting your strategy?
Yeah, it's a huge change in last month in China that a lot of people playing a very popular Tencent game named 王者荣耀. So this trend is so strong that we did a lot of things. First, we found that the download ranks of our smartphones, the Tencent game, go the first. And second, we talk about our platform suppliers like MediaTek, like Qualcomm, about how we can support the game run much more smooth on our future phones. And the MediaTek did like to change the next generation of smartphones platform to support Tencent game. That's very interesting things.
Yeah. So can you argue, I assume you all know about this company and how it is migrating from just being a hardware manufacturer to providing the software simultaneously, and now more and more internet services.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, who your customers are and how they're driving your strategy and your transformation?
Chinese smartphone market is so huge that we can find certain type of customers and we can ship maybe 20 million phones 1 year. And our customers is young male people around 22 or 24 and male, and they most of them have technical background that they can understand the smartphones very well. That's why they choose Meizu because yes, iPhone is good enough, but too mainstream. But they want to find a high quality, well designed smartphones, but not mainstream. That's why we can find our customers and we can continually to upgrade our design, our technology to make our customers happy.
So would you say that games and the most quality platform for games has become the single most important competitive edge for you and other hardware makers?
Yeah, in maybe 6 months earlier, it's maybe right, but today we found another trend. It's changed in China because customers want much higher and higher price smartphones.
Even young people.
Even young people. And
Especially young people, maybe.
especially young people want better things. And secondly, all the young people want to find something not just high speed, not just good quality, but they are looking for something well designed. In the last of years, Chinese customers always concerned about the price, the performance. They never talk about the design, the beauty. But today, things changed. They also talk about how about the design, how about the color. So that's very interesting thing. You can find that Chinese smartphone companies shape more and more colors, different colors.
Do you think that the cycle of new product introductions has become faster and faster, and that hardware makers that only offer 1 or 2 choices and keep them in the market for a long time will be left behind?
Yeah, it's a kind of balance, iPhone launch smartphones every 12 months, but Samsung launch smartphones maybe 10 months or 8 months, and Huawei maybe launch smartphones every 6 months. So that's dependence, different strategies. Maybe the best strategy is find a balance that you can keep the speed, but you can make a long enough that make all the technical upgrade already. So you can offer customer much better smartphones with lower weighting, but the differences with former generation is huge enough. So I think maybe for us the best life cycle is 8 months, not 12.
So kind of Samsung-like product cycles.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
as you look at the China market,
Yeah.
it is so competitive,
Yeah.
especially in your home province of Guangdong.
Yeah.
To what extent do you think that all the Chinese makers will be increasingly targeting growth from outside China rather than inside China? Or do you think the income growth in China means that your margins can get better, that you can differentiate yourself and remain profitable by staying at home? How do you see China versus going out?
China market is so competitive, that's right. And, but first, we must win at our home. If we cannot win in our home, we cannot win anywhere. And yes, a lot of successful Chinese smartphone brand will go to the overseas market, for example, Huawei and Oppo, and they get a very huge success. And we are going overseas in the same time. We will ship maybe 3 million phones this year outside China.
You know, your market in China, as you said, is young men
Yeah.
who love playing games and love technology and technical things.
Yeah.
Wouldn't your market be very different outside China,
Yeah.
especially in, say, Europe?
Yeah, and in fact, outside China, a lot of countries with different situations, but the most important different situation is this country's open market or not. So open market means we can talk with customer directly, and we can sell phones to our customer directly. And not open market means this market controlled by the telecoms, by the carriers, and we found the open market foreigner countries first. Or the best is to talk with customers, and serve our customers. Or the best is now to make the relationship with telecoms and the carriers. So that's why we go to the overseas market, find an open market country, and sold our phones like Indonesia and Ukraine. We got the number 2 in the Ukraine.
So, I mean, do you think in a place like Indonesia,
Yeah.
you will see similar dynamics, that you will see income growth, that people will care more and more about, say, the quality of the camera? Or still, is it more price sensitive in Southeast Asia?
Yeah, for our data, the price is different, but the dimensions is always same in different countries. The first is always the performance. People care the performance first. The second is battery life. People care about how long we can use this phone, for 10 hours or longer. And the third is camera. People use phone camera, more and more, and the camera is the third. But all the marketing research told us this, but one left, I think, is the first of the first. Is how about the phone's quality, the design, and the first imaging is the first of the first. So in all the countries, all the data told us the same.
You know, when we were talking before, you were saying something that I thought was very counterintuitive, you know, because I always think China is leapfrogging the world. You said Europe is actually ahead of China in many ways. Can you give us an example of a feature or a design or a software or an app that was popular in Europe and later came to China?
In fact, as mobile internet apps, China is leading Europe, but at a customer behavior, Europe leading China. Why we think about that is in the several years ago, Chinese people always care about the price and the performance. But in Europe, people talk about the performance, the brand image, and the design. And that's totally different. Price and performance, design and brand. But today we see the situation that the Chinese market is uprising. Chinese customer talk about the brand, talk about how about the design. So Chinese market will much more like Europe market, as our opinion.
So Linan spends a lot of time in Japan.
Yeah.
And, precisely because it's so regulated, precisely because the carriers
Yeah.
have so much power, Japan isn't an interesting market for you. But, you were telling me that the Japanese government regulates things like gambling online.
Yeah.
Do you think the Chinese market needs more regulation? Do you think that would be a good or a bad thing for a Chinese market?
Yeah, I once worked in a Japanese mobile game company, and as a Japanese opinion, they think mobile game is some kind of gambling. So in Japan, have a law to manage all the gambling things, and mobile game include this law. This law control the mobile game companies' behavior in Japan, but in China, we have a very strong mobile game ecosystems, include Tencent, that's kind of huge company. But Chinese government do not think mobile game is a gambling. So we do not have such kind of law to manage Tencent, the company like Tencent. In fact, Tencent is a social company, but if you see the profit, 15% profit come from mobile game. So in fact, Tencent is a mobile game company, not a social company. And mobile game company, in fact, is a gambling company. A gambling company needs some kind of law to management his behavior. In Japan, they have that kind of law. In China, that law do not exist. So I think that's a problem.
And, one thing that people always debate is, intellectual property.
Yeah.
As you develop your own software more and more and your own, web apps, how much do you worry about that? Do you think that your IP rights are strong enough, or that there should be more rules? Or do you think that if there are more rules, they can be used to suppress creativity and make it more politically correct?
In fact, in Japan, we have a lot of laws to manage the whole industry, and finally, the industry is not so vivid, so competitive. And in China, it's totally different situation that we do not have enough laws and rules to control the whole market. I think a balance is very interesting thing that we should avoid the situation like Japan, and we should avoid the situation like China. We have to balance the control and the industry's vivid energy.
I want to ask you one question that we talked about before.
Yeah.
One of the strengths of China, and particularly Guangdong, your home, is that hardware and software coexist.
Yeah.
You manufacture virtually everything in China today.
Yeah.
Do you expect that to change? Are you concerned that manufacturing gets hollowed out precisely because wages are going up? And although people can afford to pay more for phones, they also want to be paid more to make those phones?
Yeah. So I said already, last year in China market is performance and price. And in Europe, they talk about brand design. And today, customers in China much like Europe customers. So our company's future is not make things better. Yes, we can make things better. Our company's future is to create a real strong Chinese brand. Today, a lot of things made in China, but it's physical world. China built all the physical world, but in the heart of customers, a Chinese brand is not so strong. Chinese brand it means low price, poor qualities, or mass product. But in the same time, you'll see Japanese brand is high quality, well designed, and reliable. So the next generation of Chinese companies' mission is to create a real strong brand image in customers, in the heart around China.
In the 12 seconds we have remaining, is that a question of 3 years, 5 years, longer, shorter?
Yeah, I have no idea about that, but we'll continually do that things to create a strong enough Chinese brand.
Thank you so much,
Thank
and
you
thank
so
you
much.
for listening.
Okay. So we've been hearing a lot over the last couple of days here at RISE about the benefits of smart homes, smart cities, the interconnectivity of everything. But are we dealing with the consequences as well? We have a group panel discussion coming up that's going to tackle this topic, led by Reuters' Pete Sweeney, who's going to be speaking with Volvo Group's Torbjorn Holstrom and Malavika Jayaram, who's the executive director of Digital Asia Hub, a think tank incubated by Harvard. So.
Wow.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming. I'm excited for this conversation because it's so frightening in some ways. Why don't you guys start by introducing yourself, Torbjorn?
My name is Torbjorn Holmström. I'm the senior advisor when it comes to research and technology at the Volvo Group, which is the commercial side of the Volvo. It's not the passenger cars. I've been the CTO for the Volvo Group for many, many years, and since half a year now, I'm working with the CEO and talking about research and technology. So I'm talking about it now. I did it for 20 years then in the past.
All right. Malavika.
Hi, I'm Malavika Jayaram. I'm the executive director of a very new think tank called the Digital Asia Hub, which was incubated by the Berkman Center for Internet and Society at Harvard. And we're in Hong Kong. And we investigate a lot of issues at the intersection of technology and society. So things like artificial intelligence, freedom of speech, ICTs, innovation, and various ways in which technology can help or hinder innovation and society.
Okay.
So I'll be the scary one. I'm the lawyer.
Well, Torbjorn, can you tell us a little bit about what Volvo is doing specifically with trucks, these big heavy industry stuff, and then maybe branch out a little bit and talk about what the state of play is with the technology?
I will. I mean, we are one of the, to begin with, we are one of the three biggest groups then when it comes to commercial vehicles in the world. It's ourselves, the Volvo Group, and it's the Daimler Group and the Volkswagen Group that are the big ones. And all of us, we are working with, let's say, the new technology that is coming or the new trends that are on the way. It's definitely then electrification of the system. It is automation and it is connectivity. And if you put automation and connectivity together, and what you probably have heard about a lot then when it comes to autonomous vehicles that are creating a tremendous amount of data. And one of the things that we are working very hard with is to secure the data and how to treat all that data. Today we have some 600,000 vehicles connected, producing data every single minute, and there is a lot of sensitive data in those vehicles. So for us it's extremely important that no one is hacking that our systems, and it will be a challenge then going forward when you will use then the cloud as a computing power, so to say, to steer the vehicle. Today we have the vehicle in itself has all the computing power then to do, I would say, the automatic system that we have today, because we started some 20, 30 years ago then atomizing the engine operation, the transmission operation, the braking system, and the steering system. So I mean the platform is there. So we have been looking into that for many, many years. And our colleagues then in the industry are working with the same thing. Today we have completely, or testing completely atomized vehicles then in confined areas. And why do we do that? We do it because it is a way then to learn without then having the hustle then to discuss, and right now then at least then being involved in all the legal framework that is needed to really drop an autonomous vehicles into the public domain, like here in Hong Kong or whatever. But we need to test, we need to talk about it, and we need to get the discussion up and running in the public domain. The lawmakers and everyone needs to think about how do we regulate this, what are the rules when it comes to data and security at large, then when it comes to autonomous vehicles and connectivity.
So Malavika, what do you think the lawmakers should be focusing on policy-wise? Fleets of giant trucks driving around with no humans inside. There's a lot of things that could go wrong with that, right?
Yeah. I think what's really interesting is we focus a lot on the autonomous part when it comes to the vehicle, without worrying as much about the autonomy part when it comes to the individuals involved. So I think that sort of interplay between privacy and security and efficiency and safety when it comes to vehicles, congestion, urban planning, and all the good things that can come out of autonomous vehicles. I think that balance is something that policymakers will be really interested in. And usually my job at these kinds of events is sort of bringing up the data issue, so it's wonderful that that's what you started with, because it's usually the bit that nobody wants to talk about. It's the awkward, you know, oh yeah, we'll figure it out. You know, some lawyer will sort of automatically compute for that. Like, engineers don't need to think about it, but I think if it's not baked into the design and the frameworks and the architecture, if it's not privacy by design upfront, it's not something you can bolt on at the end. If a system is built to be data hungry and to collect information upfront, it's very hard to sort of anonymize it after the fact. So I think the data questions are very central to this. I think the liability is also super interesting because, as with most things involving technology, it's done in silos. It depends on which jurisdiction you're in. And it presents both opportunities and risks, because some countries or even states will be drivers of innovation, will say we'll allow autonomous vehicles in, you know, controlled pilots. We'll allow the, you know, Uber in Philadelphia. There are examples of places that want to be leaders in this space, so they're going to compete on that. But equally, there are countries that are going to compete from a legal and policy point of view to actually, like Japan is coming up with really interesting policies around this. So I think even though a lot of the vehicle manufacturers and the industry is very keen to say, leave us alone, don't regulate because you're going to kill innovation, I think given the safety involved, I think there's going to be a lot, it's optically and legally, it's going to be difficult not to intervene in some way. So I think even if you want light touch regulation, it might be guidelines, best practices, ethical frameworks, rather than law and regulation as such. And I think that's where the industry is going.
We are already thinking about that. I mean, in the European Union, there is talks about the right to be forgotten.
Exactly.
Let's say that you have a truck then that 10 different drivers are operating.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, one of the drivers said, okay, I want the right to be forgotten. And you have been driving them for 3-4 years, and all the data that has been collected by me, I want, please erase that. It is an issue for us then to see that is possible to be done.
I think interoperability will also require some kind of frameworks at, if not a global level, at least some kind of standardized way, because with the old sort of analog car, which is a distinct, thing in and of itself, which isn't connected to other cars and to other systems, it's autonomous in a very different way. Data is not being shared. Nobody else needs to know where the car is at any point. You don't need to sort of plan around this vehicle and where it's going. But I think, so, car manufacturers could come up with completely different systems that didn't talk to each other, that didn't follow the same standards. I think the second you have different brands and different cars on the same streets in a city, which need to communicate with each other, it requires some kind of interface protocol, some kind of standard that will apply to all of them.
Well, isn't that a major industry risk? Because you're talking about automotive, which is a global industry, a lot of exports. And obviously China is a huge market, and they've got a very different attitude towards information security than compared to some other jurisdictions.
Yes.
I mean, is it realistic to expect governments to establish some sort of, I don't know, body that would administer standards and deal with these issues, or is it completely fragmented?
We are a little bit burned by that. If you take the emission standards, global emission standards are not standardized all over. Yeah. Different countries have different level of emission standards. They are measuring it in different ways. Unfortunately, I don't foresee that it will be a complete standard on how to communicate between vehicles and infrastructure, vehicle to individuals and so on. So that will be an issue for us then to handle going forward, because there are so many, the issue is that there are so many good things that could be done with a new technology. But at the same time, there is a risk then, because you share so much data. Let's say that we would like them to have a safe environment here in Hong Kong. So we need to know if there is a pedestrian around the corner coming out in front of a truck or whatever. Of course, we have to know where that pedestrian, the pedestrians are, so to say. So, and that is, of course, they need to share their data, the location data. I don't know how many of you have your location data and a frequent location turned on your mobile phones. But if someone hacks your phone, there will be a lot of data where you have been then the last week or the last month and so on. So which is a risk, of course. It must be hacker-proof, so to say.
I think one of the other issues that comes up in this space a lot is transparency and scrutability, because I think as you're using artificial intelligence, techniques of machine learning, deep learning, I think one of the problems is software is writing software that's writing software that's learning from data. You have reinforcement learning, you have different technologies where it's very hard for one developer or a set of developers to even say, this is how decisions are being made. Yeah. So, you often have the trolley problem, which is the sort of poster child in this space of all the things that could go wrong, and how humans might make decisions differently than technology would. And I think the trolley problem can be very reductive, but it's a very good entry point into the kind of ethical questions that humans make. And we can't explain our own decisions or our reflexes very, well to people. So the expectation that technology will somehow be better at this could be unrealistic. But unless we have some way of making systems and algorithms scrutable, even if you don't want to disclose the secret sauce, which no company will want to do, I think the fact that you have some way of independently auditing this, because, this is another terrible Swedish example, but it keeps coming up in the literature of what if the car has an inbuilt thing of, when you're browsing things online, it could take you to different sites or be advertising at you. What is the physical location equivalent of that? Will your car drive you past IKEA or drive you past a particular store? And that's something that comes up, saying, what is going to be presented to you physically? What kind of routes are going to be chosen to optimize for certain things rather than others? And do you even know that that's happening? So I think transparency is huge.
What is the problem, like if you're talking about a global problem, say poverty or hunger or something, what is the problem that automating fleets of trucks and cars is going to solve? I know it's going to make people money, but just to be totally, what is the upside for what you're doing in terms of society?
Let's take the productivity of, let's say, the trucking system. Let's say if you have platooning, if you have many trucks behind each other, and you just have a driver in front. If they go close, you could reduce the carbon dioxide footprint between 15 to 20% if you do that. And then you could have one driver for maybe 3, 4, 5 different trucks. So that is one simple productivity gain that you could do. And of course, you could run the vehicles much more frequent. Today in Europe, you can drive 4.5 hours, then you have to rest 45 minutes, and then you can drive 4.5 hours again. I mean, you don't need to rest a vehicle like that. You could just run it all the time then and utilize then the installed capacity much, much better. So there is productivity gains both for the individual ones that are owning the truck, but also for society at large, because you could reduce environmental impact. It's one thing that you could do.
Well, so, I mean, on the flip side, of course, you have, I've used the word poverty, and you have these technologies coming into poorer economies, developing economies, where presumably, like, being a truck driver is a job. You know, these things are, you know, and they've also got the liability issues that we spoke about, you know, in terms of if you get hit by one of these cars because you don't have a cell phone at all, and so the automation doesn't see you because you're poor and you can't afford a cell phone. I mean, what are the benefits for developing economies, or is this something that's going to flow more upwards to capitalists and upper middle class people?
I think with developing economies, the use case is huge, because if you look at the statistics around, you know, traffic-related deaths in the developing world, they're ridiculous. They shouldn't be that high. I mean, I come from India, and like if you look at accidents and road traffic and the number of lives lost every year, that's something that could really be helped by automation and self-driving cars. Because even now, when you look at the tests, things go wrong usually when there's human intervention, even with self-driving cars.
For sure.
So I think there's a huge gain there. But the thing is, unlike, say, drones, where, you know, the civilian use case is so developed you can buy them for less than $100 now, cars are still going to be super expensive, and it's something that the developing world isn't quite there yet in terms of using.
Right.
So, and I think that's going to pose really interesting issues when you have some autonomous cars on the road with regular cars being driven by, I hate to say it, but, you know, people who drive really badly in certain countries. When I moved back from London to India, one of my friends told me that I was a huge liability because I drove well. And he said for a system to work, either everybody drives terribly or everyone follows the rules. Someone like you is going to screw up everything because you're following the rules and using indicator lights in a field where nobody else does. You're going to cause jams. So
that is an issue, and human beings never follow the rules completely, but the autonomous vehicle would do.
Well, but so how is AI going to cope for that? Because part of the artificial intelligence you put in there presumably would be having to account for imperfection. Like, I can't see a scenario where there's 100% automated vehicles out there in an
today there are a massive of people then trying then to figure out what you see through a LiDAR system. Is that a moose coming out backwards on a motorway, or is it something else then trying then to identify what it is and to learn, I mean, the system, what they really see? And that is a huge undertaking to do that, and there is many, many steps. So the vehicle itself must be so smart so that they don't do something stupid in itself.
every time I worry about the risks of something like autonomous vehicles, I'm really comforted by the fact that algorithms still can't distinguish between cupcakes and chihuahuas. And there are like fantastic images and GIFs on this, and so I think we're not there yet.
But it sounds like for it to work, they're going to need to, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, just, do you find that, which is further, what I'm hearing is that the technology is far in advance of the policy environment around it. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, so is it, just go back, like, is there a need for some sort of centralized think tank that starts dealing with these in a serious ways? Because certainly there's a risk of...
I think when we are talking to European Union and US and so on, they are already thinking about how should we make this legal in one way or another. What are the boundary conditions then for autonomous vehicles and connectivity and so on? So that is ongoing. But I mean, the technology is a little bit ahead now compared to the legal framework.
And there is a Geneva Convention on road traffic, but it assumes that the driver is always human. So there are a lot of governments that have been calling for amendments to the Geneva Convention to account for non-human agents.
All right, well, look forward to seeing how they revise it. And that is time. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Okay, so to follow that panel discussion, we're going to continue looking into sort of the consequences of technology. Our next session is about building emotional connections and human resilience and bringing humanity into the world of computing and hardware. Our speaker is Mirjana Spasijevic, who is the head of HP's Immersive Experience Labs. So, Mirjana, welcome.
Hello. It's so great to be here at RISE, and I'm so excited to tell you about this really special project that was conceived in my lab over the past year. But first, I need to tell you a few words about my startup. As you know, HP is one of those original startups conceived in Silicon Valley in a little garage, and after 78 years, we are still really strong on technology and innovation. And what I'm most proud of, we have this really strong mission of trying to impact people, their lives, wherever they are. And we want to do this by creating experiences, special experiences that amaze people. And in my lab, we actually do that by studying how people work and live. We look at them in their context, we look at their emotions, we look at their motivations and things, and then try to project into the future, knowing what kinds of technologies are coming up, how they're going to feel about it, what will they want, how it will all work for them. And we prototype a lot, we put it out there and try to learn something interesting. So when we think about the future, we look and study really megatrends. And megatrends are really about these big changes, such as rapid urbanization, rise of the big cities, megacities, many here right in Asia. Changing demographics, we know that many countries are now having lower birth rate, the population is aging, healthcare will be impacted definitely, and so on. So with these megatrends as the backdrop, as researchers, we actually try to look at 3 to 7 year horizons, so not immediate products, but a little bit further down. And then we say, what matters to people? What's important to study now? What's important to evaluate and understand? So there are two topics in my lab that we are really keen on. And the first one we call resilience technologies. And resilience, why it's important? Resilience is something that if people have it, they have much easier time overcoming obstacles, adverse situations, that just bounce back easier. And resilience has 3 components: who you are, what's your purpose in life, your connection to your family, your friends, your community, and finally your sense of control over what's happening to you, your destiny. So resilience is really important. And the second area that we research, it's coming really from these new technologies related to 3D printing and additive manufacturing. Because while for so many years in computing we've been designing interfaces on small screens and big screens through different ways, now with 3D printing we can actually design interfaces in the world. We can design parts. We can design buttons, conductive materials, and create totally new world of interaction. And this is super exciting for us because as HDR researchers, we feel like we are on the completely new wave of developments. So the project I want to tell you about is exactly at the intersection of these two places. And it's really interesting how it started. It started in our brainstorming exercise, and we were trying to think, how can we connect people in different ways? Not through chatting, not through video links or emails or social media, but somehow more gently kind of keep them connected without really connecting them. And then somebody said, well, my daughter really wants to live with grandma. And we've been trying to figure out how to make it happen without naturally moving in with the grandma. So those two ideas together, and what you see on the screen on the left side is our very first prototype. Simple paper, tape, wires, and in the middle is grandma's house. It's like a little snow globe. If you know snow globes, you have been, probably traveled, those precious objects that remind us of places we have been and types of experiences we had. And we said, what if a snow globe is a way of connecting to the loved ones? So over the course of 8 weeks, we iterated on the idea, and you see a modern version of the snow globe on the right we call Jetty. So what does Jetty have? Jetty is really an art object. First of all, it has 3D printed residents, like this one. This one traveled with me. It's a replica of a real house. It even has a tiny little doorknob, believe it or not. And we put these replicas in a bigger housing, and we create an image, a holographic image of a real-time weather. So it's as if you're looking at the real house and the environment. And then the third element is presence. When people are at home, the house lights up. When they go away, the house is quiet and dark. And that's it. Nothing more. No buttons, no talking to the house, no other ways. 3 simple features. And we were curious to see how that will play with people. And let me show you in a video what that experience looks like. So pretty interesting and compelling, right? At least that's what the theory is. But we really wanted to test this with real folks in real houses. So we found 5 pairs of parents and adult children who were all living within the Bay Area, but far enough, maybe an hour or 2 apart, and were claiming that they were not keeping as much in touch, they were not as happy about their communication, and we wanted to see what something like a Jetty, which is really a design probe, how would it change their daily lives? Would it create some new routines? What would happen? So we distributed these devices to these 5 pairs, and we basically went and talked to them. We explained what Jetty is like. They were curious. They were surprised. They were delighted in seeing this little reminder of the other person in the form of a home. And we left devices with them. We checked periodically throughout the following weeks in order to see what was going on. And initially it was more like, what can this do for me? What are the features? But very soon, after a couple of days, we saw what's really magic. People stopped talking about technology. They started talking about emotions. They were talking how it was making them feel. And this is one of those moments when you know you hit something deep, because it was really making them connect to their loved ones through a very simple thing, a weather, a sense of home, and a sense of presence, and nothing more. They could tell that their loved ones were doing okay. We were also asking them at the end, how was it? And they said, oh, can I keep it? And how much does the service cost? So anybody who is creating minimum viable products knows that's where you start to really develop things further. It became a fixture in many houses, kids waving through grandma through the house, even though grandma couldn't see them. And it really changed slightly these patterns of interactions. It's, for example, in the case of one mother-in-law and in-law, it was helping mother-in-law getting organized. She was unfortunately experiencing some early signs of cognitive decline, and this was helping her getting grounded. And daughter-in-law knew when mother-in-law was coming over because the lights would go off, and she says, okay, she's on the way to pop in. So with these things, where do we go? We believe really that this is just scratching the surface. This is just one example how you can deeply personalize technology. We can personalize it through 3D printing, through additive manufacturing, through many other things. And these new materials that we can create can in many ways live as connected devices, elsewhere IoT devices, or perhaps as this little brooch that's right on my body here, and give a little different interaction model. It doesn't have always to be a screen. It can be personal expression. It can remind us of special things. It can give us certain alerts and things like that. So this personalization with deep new materials and really moving toward a people-centric future of the computing. This is what we truly believe in, no matter what technology does, that at the end of the day, we need to create personal, very special things that support people in their daily lives. And with that, I thank you.
Okay, for our next session, we're heading back into hardware. We're going to be talking about the commercial drone market, which is rapidly growing and changing. And our next speaker is the Chief Technology Officer of Skycatch, which is a market leader in this space that's incorporated computer vision, machine learning, and precision hardware to build a powerful and intelligent drone data platform. So let's hear it for David.
Hi, everyone. I'm David Chen. I'm the head of technology at Skycatch. We're a company based out of San Francisco, and we build software and hardware for industrial data capture using drones. Today, many of the largest construction companies in the world use our technology to save time and money every single day. Hold on. This clicker is not working. Oh. All right, thank you. So what's our mission? It's to deliver accurate and actionable data about the dynamic physical world. And we do this using drones. But we've never considered ourselves a drone company. From day one, we've always thought of ourselves as a data company. The drone is just a tool to collect the data. And we realized that all the value is in the data itself. So this is our platform. It's very simple: capture, process, and analyze. So capture is the drone itself, and that's the hardware, the software for controlling the drone, and the hardware actually on the drone. Process is taking that captured data and turning it into a richer and more meaningful representation of the real world in 2D and 3D. And analyze is the ability to take that process data and extract even more insights from it about your project, wherever it may be. So from years of working with the customers, what we focus on is figuring out what are the pain points and bottlenecks in their everyday workflow and building systems to remove those bottlenecks. And over the last 4 years, what we've learned is that most of the time, the bottleneck is humans. So we focused on removing humans from the critical path of getting that data. And by doing so, we're able to improve efficiency and thus cost. So I wanted to tell you a little bit today about how we went from a human operating a drone, taking photos, to a fully autonomous and intelligent system with no humans in the loop at all. And let me start from the beginning. And this is where I think it all began for us, which is the DJI Phantom. This launched in 2013, and arguably, this is the most iconic piece of hardware that really launched drones to the mass public. It was out of the box, easy to use. Anyone can take it up into the sky and see the world from a completely different vantage point. And for the construction industry, it quickly became a tool that was used every single day. So before drones, if you wanted to understand the physical world, you needed to be there. Whether it's with a laser scanner, precision GPS, or even just a camera, you needed to be on the site to capture what you needed to measure what you needed to. Aerial photography through manned aircraft was available, but it was prohibitively expensive. And this is where our founder, Christian Sands, saw an opportunity and started Skycatch. So from the very beginning, what he did was he put on a hard hat and snuck into construction sites, started flying a drone, taking photos, and sharing that data with anyone who would care. And it was immediately apparent that this data was extremely valuable, because when they saw what they could see from the sky, they were addicted. They were hooked on data from the sky. And Skycatch was born, and it became a viable business. And this is one of the first photos that we captured on a real construction site. So now let's fast forward to 2014. Skycatch has been around for a little over a year now, and we started building custom drones specifically for capturing data from construction and other industrial applications. And we're capturing data and processing it through photogrammetry. So for those of you that don't know, what photogrammetry is the ability to take a sequence of photos taken from a drone and process that into a 3D model. So at this point, the human is no longer able to manually control the drone, and we needed to build automation. So we wrote algorithms to automatically tell the drone where to go, what to take pictures of. And the human operator moved a little bit down the pipeline, and they now sit on the piece where they're operating the software instead of the drone itself. And what we're delivering to the customers, instead of just photos and videos, now it's much richer 3D geospatial data. And this is what that data looks like. You can see it's a very high-resolution representation of the real world. Essentially, if you flew every single day, you would have a historical record of your job site, a snapshot in time, and you can go back and do anything you needed with it. So fast forward a year, now it's 2014, and this is when things really started to get interesting. We saw the value in the 3D data that we captured and processed, and we made the decision that we needed to own the core technologies to enable this, and part of that was the drone itself, and also the photogrammetry engine to actually process 2D data into high-accuracy 3D data. So at that time, we started hiring a computer vision team to do this. We knew it would not be easy, but we also knew that if we were truly a drone data platform, these are the core technologies that we needed to own. And this is a video of a visualization of what that actually looks like as the engine is generating a representation of the real world point by point. You can also see that after the data is processed, it's visualized as millions of points. And each of those points on the ground is accurate to a few centimeters. That means what we can now give to the customers and they can use to measure is every single point. We can tell you the exact coordinates on Earth. If there's a pebble that we measured, you can go to that coordinate and actually find that pebble. So as the customers are getting more and more used to the drone data, they're starting to become more savvy, and they're able to use the data that's processed and generate additional formats that's extremely useful, such as contour maps and digital elevation models. So what we started doing is we found all the pieces of data that they really needed, and we started building tools to generate that ourselves. So now we're taking that process out of the customer's hands, so they don't need to spend time to do it, and instead we can directly deliver this to them. So in 2016, we launched our platform to the general public. So now anyone with a drone can use our platform, use our software to capture and process data. But there are still some steps in there that were manual. And those are the steps that may take a couple minutes, but overall, it's what's preventing us from truly scaling. So at this point, we turn to machine learning for help. Little things such as identifying a marker that's been placed on the ground and picking the center of it, where it would take a human a couple seconds to do, is still hard for machines. So we built computer vision and machine learning systems to automate this, to be able to truly take the human out of the loop and have an end-to-end system that's completely automated from the flight to the data processing to the delivery of the data. And while we did that, we started building more and more tools that we found that the customers needed. We talked to them, saw what they were using our data for, and built those tools. For example, automating comparing two dates to see the 3D changes, automating extraction of segmentation and figuring out what these objects were, and then measuring that so they can have volumetric measurements on demand. Looking at a site, figuring out what was ground and what was not ground, and removing all those things. Now that we've spent all this time developing and improving the core technologies that make all of this possible, we had the flexibility to move it anywhere we wanted to. And with the human out of the loop, the bottleneck became bandwidth and connectivity. With the advancement of embedded platforms such as the NVIDIA TX2, we're now able to take all that technology we've developed over the last 4 years and put it into a little box that you can have in your hand that's next to the drone, so it can fly, capture the data, land, transfer it, and start processing almost immediately. And within minutes, the customer can see the actual outputs. And once we've done that, it opens us up to so much more that we can do to improve efficiency on job sites. So what we were doing now is looking at what are other places can we look for inefficiencies, and one of those things is tracking machinery on a job site. And that's more than just identifying where a machine is on the site, but also identifying exactly what it's doing on the site to figure out, is there a certain pattern of machine movement that's actually will improve efficiency? And this is really what the job site of the future is going to be like, is a combination of automation, machine learning, and AI to improve productivity. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is a young entrepreneur, so this should be quite interesting. His vision is focused on making robotics and engineering mainstream. He's the CEO and founder of MakeBlock, an open source do-it-yourself robotics manufacturer. So Jason Wong, please welcome.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So today I want to share my process from a maker to an entrepreneur today. I'm the founder and the CEO of MakeBlock. First, I will make a brief introduction of what MakeBlock is. MakeBlock is a robotic construction platform. We provide hundreds of mechanical parts, dozens of electronic modules, and graphic programming software for users to build many types of robots. Let's see a short video about the DIY platform. Okay, that's the introduction of our DIY construction platform. And why I started this project is because that before I'm a maker, I spent a lot of time in my university to build many types of robots. And after I graduate, I still have this kind of hobbies. But I find it's very hard for me to build a robot. If I have idea in my mind, even it's a very simple robot car, I need to spend a lot of time to find the materials, to find the tools, and to learn new knowledge in order to finish this project. So I think, how can I solve this problem? That's the start point that I come up with the MakeBlock idea. So this idea starts about in 2012. after about 5 years, now we have 4 product lines. So in the video you saw is that in the first product line, the DIY construction platform, this is our start point. And now this product is, in the very beginning, is for makers. But now we switch our direction. We think that the maker market is not big enough. And now we are fully focused on STEM education market. So this DIY platform now focuses on robotic competition for schools. And then we have some STEM toys like M-board. This kind of robot kits is for schools and families to learn robotics, learn coding. And recently we have 2 new product lines. The first is we call it AirBlock. It's kind of a smart toy. It's kind of a modular drone, and it can be programmable. And then we have Neuron. It's kind of electronic bricks. This platform uses magnetic connectors, so it's very easy for users to play electronics. And we also have a graphic programming tool for these hardwares. This 2 video is for the new product line. Okay. Today I take AirBlock and I will make a short demo of this product. So you see it's modular. This is consists of 7 blocks, and it can be you can change the direction of the blocks, and then with this design it can be a hovercraft, or can be a drone, or it can be other types of moving things. So first, let's see how it moves on the ground. I will use the iPad to control it. And I can change the configuration to a drone very easily. Now it can fly. And it's very safe. Okay, the demo is over. Let's back to the PPT. So this is the 4 product line that now we have. And our sales is from 2013. In the first year, we only have 3 million RMB. In the next year is 23 million and RMB. In the 2013, it's 37. 2016 is 126 million RMB. So recent years we've grown very, very fast, and our company now is from the year in the very beginning it was only myself, only one person. Now it's only 500 person right now, and during the process I will share some feelings of doing these things. The first is that hardware is really hard. So it's really hard to define a hardware project. If, for example, if I said if you define a normal hardware product, like for example as a phone, you know, most of the phones are similar. It's more or less like an iPhone. But if I said I want to define I want to do a robot, so the robot we have many kinds of robots with a leg robot, wheel robot, a tank robot, or other kinds of robots. They can different shape. The shape is so much different. So it's very hard to find the right definition of a right product. Secondly is that the mass production is very hard. We all know this. If you have a demo or prototype, but it's still a small step, and then you have a long way to go to the mass production. And then it's another hard thing is that management. So we know the first gap of a hardware company when growing. The first gap is the mass production, and the second gap is the team management. Compared to a software company, if you are a software company, because the people are simple, like you only have designers, the programmers, but for a hardware company, the chain is very long. You need a hardware designer, you need a software designer, you need people to know the package, to design the package, to do the after-sale service, and to handle the shipping, to find the channels to sell the product. So the chain is very long. You need to manage many people, and these people are different, so much different. So this is the hard things. Another thing is that let's think about if you are running a software company. Software company is always if a good company always growing very fast. So on management, the best management is growing. If you're growing so fast, you don't need to worry more about the management. But for hardware company, even a good hardware company, you can't growing that fast. But if you can't growing that fast, some problems will appear. So that's another gap for a company. Another thing is that it insists on the right direction. So it's very hard for hardware company to choose the right things to do, because it's hard to define what kind of products, what kind of market, what kind of channels you should choose. So, and if you make the wrong direction, it's not like software. If you do a wrong app, it's okay. You don't have any rules, just to start a new project. But if you make a wrong decision on the hardware project, maybe this is a disaster for you. Maybe because you already spend a lot of money on the manufacturer, on all the things, on the channels. Yeah. So there's no much time for you to make a mistake. Another thing is that from niche market to mass market. So in the very beginning of MakeBlock start, we know that we started from the maker market, but we know maker market is not big enough. Second, we will go to education market, then go to the consumer market, because if you're always in a small market, in a niche market, you don't get much resources from outside. For example, you can't get much resources from the VC. Innovation is the best shortcut. In the very beginning, we don't have a very big ability on the sales channel, on the marketing. What we only good at is the product and the R&D. But actually, our sales is not bad in the beginning. It's because if your product is good enough, your channels, your distributors will go to find you. Then it's try your best to touch your first customers. Kickstarter is very important for us. So we start our first product on Kickstarter, and then after that we launched about six projects on Kickstarter, and this is a very good way to find your first customers. So yeah, that's some of the feelings during my process. Thank you.
Okay, so we're up to our last session of the day, and I think this is going to be a pretty fun one. We'll be talking about the next era of virtual reality. Between the technology of immersive worlds and the types of stories and experiences that are possible within that, the only limit seems to be our own imagination. So how do the VR market leaders imagine and envision that world? Let's find out from the head of VR New Technology at HTC, Raymond Powell.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's my pleasure to get to share our VR vision in RISE here. And also, I think since we launched Vive, it's been a year, and we want to also share some trends and new updates from market to all of you. So, lots of people were asking why HTC start to make VR. We were famous in the smartphone industry. We created the worldwide, the first PDA, the first PDA phone, and also the first Android phone. But in our research, we have a research for the next 3-5 years. There are so many new technologies like robotics, blockchain, biotech. There's many technologies. One of them, like we're very interested in, is virtual reality. So that's why I think we spent lots of resources back to 2-3 years ago, and then we spend our resources in the virtual reality. And also, since we have very good foundation for the wireless communication, we're seeing in the future when virtual reality combined with artificial intelligence and also the high-speed connectivity, the whole experiences will change people's life. And let's talk about VR, right? VR is not actually a total new technology. It started back to 40-50 years ago. It's back to even 1968. The professors start to make virtual reality prototype. But during that time frame, the technology was not mature. They have to use CRT, and the head mount is about 20-30 kilograms. It's pretty heavy. But now, why VR is exploding since 2013? It's not single company effort. It benefits the whole industry. For example, we see the processor from Intel, from ARM, from NVIDIA, from AMD, they double the speed, they double the performance every year, with keep the still affordable price. Also, we see like display. We start from CRT and then the TFT, and then we have OLED with very high contrast, low latency, and high resolution display. And also, the tracking technology also becomes very accurate. Not only Vive were using laser-based tracking, but the other partners, like they're using camera-based tracking. They're using infrared type of tracking. It's fast and accurate to make the virtual reality really can be a good experience. And also the content. Since last 10, 15 years, there's so many tools to help the developers. They don't spend time in the content creation, the details, the programming. They spend their timing in the gameplay, in the idea, in the artist. And all these tools can leverage in the VR content as well. And also the cameras. Because of the video, we have high quality cameras, we have very good stitching algorithm. So the 360 cameras, the 360 live streaming becomes much easier. And of course, the awareness. All the big giants in the worldwide, they spend their future into VR already. You see like the Facebook, the Google, the Microsoft, Qualcomm, Intel, all of them, they spend their new business unit, they spend their new lab to the virtual reality. So they bring the whole awareness and make it VR to be available to the consumers. So this is the last year when we start to launch Vive and Oculus start to launch, right? This was the 1 year ago, the ecosystem. But after a year, there's so many companies, they all come into virtual reality space. From content side, from tool side, from platform, from hardware, and even from the investor perspective. So what is Vive? Vive is HTC, it's our brand, VR brand. We think Vive is represent our VR vision. So what's our vision? We think the VR can unleash human imagination from the limitations of reality. So it is a portal. It's a portal. It can bring the consumer to anywhere, to any time, even become anybody. And in our architecture, we have 4 main focus. One, definitely, I think the most famous one is HTC Vive. It's our technology, it's our hardware systems. And also, we have Viveport. It's our marketplace. It's our store for the consumer to buy the VR contents. Also, we have our Vive Studios. We need the studios to generate the VR contents to share the experiences to the developers. And the last one is actually the Vive X, which is more related to the startups here today. It's a VR, AR dedicated accelerator to bring the startups into the community, into the market and investors. So talking about our hardware, everybody, lots of people know, if you know VR, you know HTC Vive. We're the PC tethered, and we have very high performance. We're the most immersive, and we're the most awarded VR. And also, there's another segment called mobile VR, and it's starting from the cardboard and the gear. I think they bring lots of the mobility, get the people easy to access. So they also benefit the whole VR awareness a lot. And by end of this year, and Vive will also launch another segment in between we call standalone VR. If you're using an iPhone, you don't have, you want to have some good quality content, and I think it's also a good opportunity. You get a standalone VR, and you can just grab and go anywhere to enjoy the VR content. So we work with Google on Daydream platform to create this standalone VR to launch by end of this year. And also in our Viveport, we just, I think besides the standard download content model, we also launched the first VR content subscription services. The reason we want to launch these services because at the beginning, at least the first year, lots of the VR content, they are not long enough. I think the developer, they don't have enough time to really make a very long content. So sometimes the users, they will say, okay, I don't want to buy, I want to try the new contents every month. That's why we launched this subscription services. You only need to pay $7, and then you can choose 5 titles every month. We have more than 200 titles now. And then I will start to introduce some trends, right? For Vive, we'll start seeing Apple, they bring their, they can support their new OS, they can support the external CPU to support Vive already. And also, we also will work with Intel to get the wireless dongle supported for the Vive, even though we have TPCAS still. So from this year, we also have the tracker, which you can bring more accessories into the VR space. So this is what we see people can use for the trackers. You can do it for the motion capture. Now you don't need to have complicated optical tracking system. You can use a tracker with easy IK algorithm. You can do the motion capture. You can do full body avatar. And also, we have some partners, they bring different new technologies to Vive ecosystem as well. So for example, we have partners, they bring haptic feedback, the gloves, the vest, and also we have partners, they bring the temperature control materials. So you can really enjoy the temperature change during the content. And we have also the eye tracking glasses partners. They bring all the accessories to enrich the ecosystem. And I think the other side is from this year, you will see more and more big titles coming to the VR. I think since we launched last year, and we got the Vive Pre the year before, usually for big titles, they need more time to cook the contents. So we see one trend from this year, you see more and more big titles. In the gaming side, like Fallout 4, they announced they're going to launch in October this year. And also they have Doom, and we have a Million Arthur, and we have a Batman as well. So this is the Million Arthur. So this is a really big IP in Japan, and then we'll bring to the APEC and then US. And also HTC. So this is our new content. We just launched 2 weeks ago. We launched on Steam last week. It's called Front Defense. So it's also a very immersive, very real World War II simulation game. So we also bring this title to VR last week. So I just landed to Hong Kong this morning because I went to Japan. This is our partners, Bond & Co. They just launched VR Zone. They're going to launch by this Friday. So they open to partners to try their contents first. So they also bring lots of famous IP to the VR, even for their dedicated usage. So they brought like Mario Kart. You saw that in the video. They also have Dragon Ball. I'm not sure you know that or not. They have fishing. They have many. They have like 16 around different type of content experiences in their VR zone. They brought like 3,000 square meters VR arcade in Shinjuku, which is the very crowded area in the Tokyo city. So we see more and more gaming company, actually they bring their big IP to the VR gaming industry. And not only online, but also offline. And besides the gaming IP, we also see the movie IP coming to VR this year. The Spider-Man, we also bring that from PSVR to Vive, and then the content itself is very famous, right? Because lots of the kids, when they see the Spider-Man, they can understand this IP immediately. And also in China, I think Tencent just launched, they have Transformer 5 together with the VR content as well. And HTC, we also announced we're going to make it Ready Player One. This is also very famous IP in VR itself. But the Steven Spielberg and the Warner Brothers, they will make a big movie for the Ready Player One next Q1. And we will work with the VR content together with this movie. So we see one trend is lots of the IP coming to from the gaming, from the movie, from the online, from the offline. And we'll see also more and more usage leveraging VR. Because VR is not only for gaming. We see VR can do more. So some companies, they bring VR sports, like you can do bicycle, you can do running with the VR equipment. And also, you can do VR design as well. For example, like CATIA or AutoCAD, they have supported VR with Vive, with their software suite by default. So for the designers, when they finish designing with the 3D CAD, they can look their object immediately. And they can also work with partners worldwide to review the concept, review the design. And also in the healthcare, VR is getting adapted in the more places. Some partners, they can use VR to help the doctor to diagnose for the disease. And also some medical schools, they can use VR to do the medical education. And the next one is actually the VR training.
E-mobility and autonomous driving will change our cars. Over 600,000 employees and 120 production sites, efficient processes and a close collaboration play a key role for us. We at Volkswagen Group believe that virtual reality will help us to successfully master these challenges.
Our mission at Volkswagen Digital Realities is to empower our brands and business departments for the usage of virtual reality and augmented reality. We need to engage our people to use the VR applications no matter where they are. We need a smart infrastructure that allows us to integrate services from different suppliers. Together with our partners InnoActive, HTC, we create the Digital Reality Hub to make VR available to our people.
Digitization and automation changes the way we work at Volkswagen every day. Virtual reality allows us to bring together our experts from all over the world, simply set up sceneries by drag and drop 3D models into it and improve our processes. We at Volkswagen strongly believe.
So Volkswagen, they will use VR to face into their training system. So in the global wise, they can use VR to help people to do the training system. So we see VR, why we think it's a world-changing technology. We think it will go to people's work, and in fact, your learning, in your life, and your play. So VR will start to go to people's life from many different categories. So it's not like going to your home directly, but very soon you'll see VR everywhere. So for the startups, actually, this is the last program I want to introduce today because I think there's many startups here. So we have our Vive X program. The reason we create this program is we want to enrich the whole VR ecosystem. So we know there's new technologies. Usually, the startups, they're the most brave companies they want to try. But usually, they don't have enough resources to connect with the market, so the investors. So that's why HTC, we have our Vive X accelerator. We allocate 100 million for the small investment, but that's not the key part. The key part is we have locations to work with the teams and then to bring them to the market. So right now we have 4 locations. We have Beijing, we have Shenzhen, we have Taipei, we have San Francisco. We have finished 2 batches. The first batch finishes last December with 33 teams. The second batch finishes in June last month, has 34 teams. But now we add one more location in Israel because of this, to help the team in EMEA side. So we're looking for the third batch. So if you're a startup, you're working on the VR or AR, the technology, the content, you don't need to be working on Vive. You can working on other platforms, it's fine. Because we want to help to grow the whole VR ecosystem, not only our own devices. So you can apply the Vive X now, and also you can apply another opportunity we call VR VCA. It's a VC Alliance. We bring also the demonstrate to VC every 3 to 4 months. So come to register, and then it's not only, I think it's a mutual benefit. We want to help the startups to get the resources, but also the startup, the creativity can also help the VR ecosystem. And that's our vision for the future. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the last session today. Thank you very much for being part of this. If you want to watch center stage sections coming up, they're going to be live streamed here because it is a full hall. So you're welcome to stay here and catch those talks. Otherwise, see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. Thank you.
It was about being on air an hour before, trying to explain to people what to expect during the match, to the fans, to the viewers, and then an hour after, trying to explain to the people why you got your predictions so wrong. Mm-hmm. So I think that became a proper job, and you need to be prepared, and this is what I'm doing right now. Mm-hmm. But having said that, I'm very grateful to football. I owe everything to football, and it's thanks to football that I bought my first car, that I bought my first house. It's probably thanks to football that I had sex for the first time. Just, football is obviously, it's easier. And so I think I owe to football a lot. I'm very grateful, and I'm always looking around.